Hey folks, I'm Mike Evers, OrthoWorld Senior Market Analyst. We're coming up on earnings announcements for the first quarter of 2025. And the year's off to a busy start. So let's talk about a few of the things that we're watching in the market. We'll start off with a look back on 2024 results, talk about the resurgence of M&A volume, and wrap things up by touching on the tariffs and FDA filings. So let's dive in. Okay, so we're in the process of putting the finishing touches on the latest edition of the Orthopedic Industry Annual Report. The market didn't have the same buoyant growth as it did in 2023, but it still showed significant upside. According to our estimates, the orthopedic market grew 5% to a worldwide total of $62 billion in 2024. We expect the market to further normalize in 2025 and settle a little bit north of its historical average. Given demographic trends and improving technology, an overall industry growth rate approaching 4% seems attainable. However, some recent developments are going to inject a substantial dose of uncertainty into the markets for 2025 and potentially beyond. First, let's talk about consolidation, though. Consolidation remains a major force in orthopedics, but its pace slowed significantly after 2020. Orthopedic deal volume bottomed out in 2024 with just 9 announced transactions, a drop of almost 80% compared to its peak in 2020 when 42 deals were announced. But so far in 2025, there's been plenty of action. We've already reached 9 announced deals through the first quarter alone. Let's cherry pick a few of those. Since divesting its spine business years ago, Zimmer Biomet has worked hard to elevate its overall growth rate. It took a major step to that end with its plan to acquire Paragon 28, a high-performing asset in the fast-growing foot and ankle space. It took a few years, but Stryker ultimately arrived at the same conclusion about spine as Zimmer Biomet. Stryker sold off its U.S. spinal implant business to newly formed VB Spine so that it could redirect those investment dollars to higher growth areas. And Medacta has been signaling more interest in the sports medicine segment. It recently acquired the legacy Parcus medical assets from Anika Therapeutics. Now, given Medacta's proven approach to above-market growth in other segments, it wouldn't really surprise us to see the company make some serious inroads into sports medicine. All right, let's talk about the tariffs. In early April 2025, the Trump administration announced 10% tariffs on most imports coming into the U.S. Additionally, some countries faced higher reciprocal tariffs. Countries with substantial orthopedic markets like EU, Japan, Switzerland, and Malaysia were among the most impacted. Then, on April 9th, the administration announced a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs on all countries except China, for which the tariff rate soared to 125%. Now, given the chaotic start of the administration's tariff policy, it's virtually impossible to say how the orthopedic market will be affected. After the initial announcement, Wall Street analysts estimated that companies would face a relatively modest impact on a cost of goods basis. But higher prices ultimately reach the end user. Economic stress and uncertainty could dampen surgical volumes. Now, we often hear orthopedic patients live in pain and they're not going to get better without surgery. But the flip side to that coin is they've lived in pain for years at this point. What's a few more months or a few more years? We saw this same dynamic play out just 5 years ago. But wait, there's more bad news. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services laid off 10,000 people, including 3,500 at FDA. My colleague Carolyn Lowell has a great primer on both the tariffs and FDA cuts over on OrthoWorld.com. So hide the hints. Okay, folks, that's it. We talked about the market's strong 2024 finish, the fast start to M&A in 2025, and the uncertainty surrounding on-again, off-again tariffs. We'll learn a lot more about how this directly impacts the orthopedic market as we hear from public companies announcing first quarter results. We'll have all that coverage for you over on OrthoWorld.com and here on our YouTube channel, so make sure you like and subscribe. The 2025 edition of the Orthopedic Industry Annual Report is less than a month away. Now's a great time to become an OrthoWorld member if you're not already. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mike Evers, and I'll see you next time.